I'm 74 years old, and I can finally say out loud what I couldn't admit for most of my life. Silence destroyed my marriage. Not anger, not betrayal, not another woman or financial ruin, just silence.
Welcome back to my channel. I don't have many followers, but if you're here, your single comment means more to me than you know. It tells me I'm not just speaking into the void. I married Linda when I was 26. She was 24. We met at a church potluck, which sounds quaint now, maybe even silly, but back then that's how people met. You showed up, you ate casserole, you talked. She laughed at something I said about the weather. I don't even remember what it was, but I remember thinking she had the kindest eyes I'd ever seen. We got married 8 months later. That was normal then. You didn't date for years. You didn't live together first. You met someone decent, someone your family approved of, and you built a life. And we did build a life. I worked at the plant, 43 years, same company. Started on the floor, moved up to supervisor, then to operations manager. I was proud of that. My father had worked in a factory too, but he never got past the line. I thought I was doing better. I thought I was doing right. Linda stayed home with the kids, 2 boys, 3 years apart, Michael and Christopher. Good boys, loud, messy, always needing something. I'd come home tired, dirt under my nails, grease on my shirt, and they'd run at me like I was a hero. I wasn't. I was just a man doing what men did. Linda kept the house. She cooked every meal. She ironed my shirts. She made sure the boys got to school on time, did their homework, went to bed at 8. She never complained, not once. I thought that meant she was happy. I didn't talk much. That's just how I was. My father didn't talk much either. You worked, you provided, you showed up. That was love. You didn't sit around discussing feelings. You didn't ask questions that didn't need answers. You just kept going. Linda would try sometimes. She'd sit with me after dinner while I read the paper. She'd say things like, "Michael got an A on his spelling test," or, "I saw Margaret at the store today. She asked about you." I'd nod. I'd say, "That's good," or, "Uh-huh." And that was it. I didn't think it mattered. She knew I was listening. She knew I cared. Why did I need to say more? But she did need me to say more. I just didn't know it. The years went by like that, quietly. The boys grew up. Michael went to college. Christopher joined the Navy. The house got quieter. Linda started working part-time at the library. She'd come home and tell me about the books people checked out, about the woman who always asked for romance novels, about the kid who came in every day after school to read in the corner. I'd nod. I'd say, "That's nice." She stopped telling me as much after a while. I thought it was because there wasn't as much to say. The boys were gone. The house was clean. Dinner was at 6. Everything was fine. But everything wasn't fine. I just didn't see it. When I retired, I thought things would get better. I thought we'd have more time together. We could travel, maybe, visit the boys, take it easy. But Linda seemed further away than ever. She'd sit in the living room with a book. I'd sit in the den with the TV. We'd eat dinner together, but she didn't talk much anymore. I didn't know what to say either. We'd spent 40 years together, but it felt like we were strangers. I thought that's what happened when you got old. You ran out of things to say. But that wasn't it. One night, I asked her if she wanted to go out to dinner. Nothing fancy, just the diner down the road. She looked at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. She said, "Why?" I said, "I don't know. I thought it might be nice." She stared at me for a long time. Then she said, "You don't even know me." I didn't understand what she meant. Of course I knew her. She was my wife. I'd known her for over 40 years.
But she shook her head. She said, "You never asked." And she walked out of the room. I sat there for a long time. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I'd done wrong. I thought about it for days, weeks. I kept replaying that moment. You never asked. Asked what? I'd asked her plenty of things over the years. I'd asked if she needed help with groceries. I'd asked if the boys were doing okay. I'd asked if she wanted me to fix the fence. But I hadn't asked about her. Not really. I hadn't asked what she thought about, what she wanted, what scared her, what made her happy. I hadn't asked because I assumed I knew. I assumed that if something was wrong, she'd tell me. But she had tried to tell me, in 1,000 small ways. And I'd said, "Uh-huh." I'd nodded. I'd kept reading the paper. I realized, too late, that I'd been silent in the ways that mattered most. Linda got sick 2 years ago. Lung cancer. She never smoked a day in her life, but it didn't matter. The doctors said it was aggressive. They gave her 6 months. She lasted 4. I sat with her every day in the hospital. I held her hand. I told her I loved her. I told her I was sorry. She smiled. She said, "I know." But I don't think she did. Not really. Because I'd spent 50 years not saying it, not showing it, not asking. And now she's gone. The house is quiet now. Too quiet. I eat dinner alone. I watch TV alone. I sit in the living room where she used to read, and I wonder what she was thinking all those years. I wonder what she would have said if I'd asked. I wonder who she really was beyond the woman who made my dinner and ironed my shirts. And I'll never know, because I stayed silent. I don't know why I'm telling you this. Maybe because I don't want you to make the same mistake. Maybe because I need to say it out loud, even if it's too late. If you love someone, talk to them. Not about the weather, not about errands. Really talk. Ask them what they're thinking, what they're afraid of, what they dream about. Don't assume you know. Don't assume there's time. Because one day, there won't be. And you'll sit in an empty house, surrounded by silence, wishing you'd said something when it mattered. I'm 74 years old. I have maybe 10 years left if I'm lucky, maybe less. And I'll spend every one of them wishing I'd spoken. If this story meant something to you, I'd be grateful if you'd leave a comment. Tell me about someone you love. Tell me you won't stay silent. It won't bring Linda back, but maybe it'll save someone else from sitting where I'm sitting now, alone, with nothing but silence. I want to tell you about a specific moment. It's one I've replayed in my head maybe 1,000 times since Linda died. It was a Tuesday.
I remember because Tuesdays were my late nights at the plant. Inventory checks. I'd get home around 8 instead of 6. Linda had dinner waiting. Meatloaf, mashed potatoes, green beans from a can. The same meals she'd made 100 times before. I sat down. I was tired. My back hurt. There'd been a problem with one of the machines, and I'd spent 2 hours on the floor trying to sort it out. Linda sat across from me. She didn't eat right away. She just sat there, looking at her plate. Then she said, "I've been thinking about going back to school." I looked up. "School?" She nodded. "There's a community college program for library science. It's 2 years, but I could do it part-time, night classes." I didn't say anything right away. I was trying to understand why she'd want to do that. She already worked at the library. She seemed fine. We didn't need the extra money. Finally, I said, "What for?" She looked at me. "Because I want to." I shrugged. I said, "If you want to." And that was it. I went back to eating. She went back to looking at her plate. She never brought it up again. I didn't think about that conversation for years, not until after she died. I was going through her things, trying to decide what to keep, what to give away. I found a brochure in her nightstand drawer. Community college, library science program. It was dated from that year, the year she'd asked me. She'd kept it. I sat on the edge of the bed holding that brochure, and I realized what I'd done. She hadn't been asking for permission. She'd been asking me to care. She'd been saying, "I want something for myself. I want to grow. I want to be more than the woman who makes your dinner." And I'd said, "If you want to." Like it didn't matter to me one way or the other. Like she didn't matter. I don't know if she would have gone if I'd reacted differently. If I'd said, "That's wonderful. Tell me more. What made you think of this?" Maybe she would have enrolled. Maybe she would have finished. Maybe she would have felt like her life was hers, not just an extension of mine. Or maybe it wouldn't have changed anything. But I didn't give her the chance to find out. I think about all the other moments like that. The times she mentioned something she'd read. The times she talked about a place she'd like to visit. The times she said she was tired, or sad, or frustrated. And I'd nod. I'd say, "Uh-huh." I'd turn on the TV. I thought I was being low maintenance. I thought I was being easy to live with. I didn't argue. I didn't demand things. I didn't complain. But I didn't engage either. And that's worse. Because silence isn't neutral. It's not peaceful. It's not calm. Silence is a choice. And when you choose silence with someone you're supposed to love, you're choosing to let them disappear. That's what I did to Linda. I let her disappear one quiet day at a time until there was almost nothing left of her that I actually knew. After she died, people came to the funeral. Friends from the library, neighbors, women from her book club. I didn't even know she was in a book club. They came up to me and told me stories about how Linda had helped them pick out books for their grandkids, about how she'd organized a fundraiser for the children's section, about how she'd been learning to paint watercolors on Saturday mornings at the community center. Watercolors? I didn't know. One woman, I'd never seen her before, she took my hand and said, "Linda talked about you all the time. She loved you so much." I wanted to believe her, but all I could think was, if Linda loved me, why didn't I know about the watercolors? Why didn't I know about the book club? Why didn't she tell me? But she did tell me, or she tried to. I just wasn't listening. There's a difference between hearing and listening. I heard Linda every day. I heard her voice, her words, but I didn't listen. I didn't ask follow-up questions. I didn't make space for her to be a full person in front of me. I made space for her to be my wife, the role, the function, but not her. The boys came home for the funeral. They stayed a week. Michael brought his wife and their daughter. Christopher came alone. He'd just gotten divorced. I didn't know that either until he told me. We sat in the living room after everyone left, the three of us. It felt strange. We hadn't been alone together like that in maybe 20 years. Michael said, "Dad, are you going to be okay?" I said, "I'll be fine." Christopher looked at me. He said, "You don't have to be fine." I didn't know what to say to that. Michael said, "Mom worried about you. She said you kept everything inside." I felt something tighten in my chest. "She said that?" He nodded. "She said you were a good man, a good father, but that you lived in your own head, and she didn't know how to reach you." I wanted to argue. I wanted to say that wasn't true, but I couldn't, because it was true. Christopher said, "We felt it too, Dad, growing up. We'd try to talk to you about things, school, friends, problems, and you'd just not really be there." I looked at him. I was always there. He shook his head. "You were in the room, but you weren't there." That hurt more than anything anyone had said to me in my entire life, because he was right. I'd been in the room for 50 years. I'd sat at the dinner table. I'd gone to some of the boys' games, not all, but some. I'd been physically present, but I hadn't been there. I hadn't asked Michael about the girl he liked in high school. I hadn't asked Christopher why he seemed so angry his junior year. I hadn't asked Linda why she stopped humming while she cooked. I just assumed everything was fine because no one was yelling. But fine isn't the same as good, and silence isn't the same as peace. The boys left after a week. They hugged me. They said to call if I needed anything. I haven't called. I don't know what I'd say. I spend a lot of time alone now. I don't mind it exactly. I'm used to it. But it's different when it's by choice versus when it's all you have left. I go to the grocery store once a week. I buy the same things: bread, cold cuts, soup, cereal. I don't cook much. There's no point. I see other couples sometimes, old couples, like Linda and I were. They're holding hands, they're talking, they're laughing about something. And I wonder if they know how lucky they are. I wonder if they're actually talking, or if they're just better at pretending than we were. I go to the cemetery every Sunday. Linda's buried next to a maple tree. I thought she'd like that. She always liked trees. I sit on the bench nearby and I talk to her. I tell her about my week, about the weather, about something I saw on TV. And then I tell her the things I should have said when she was alive. I tell her I'm sorry. I tell her I didn't mean to make her feel invisible. I tell her I loved her, even though I didn't say it enough. I tell her about the brochure I found. I tell her I wish she'd gone to school. I tell her I wish I'd asked her more questions. I wished I'd known about the watercolors. I sit there for an hour, sometimes two, and when I leave, I feel a little lighter. But it doesn't change anything. She's still gone, and I'm still here, and all the words I should have said are just echoing in an empty space where a life used to be. I don't know if you're married. I don't know if you have someone you love. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But if you do, please don't wait. Don't wait until they're gone to say the things that matter. Don't assume they know. Don't assume there's time. Ask them about their day. Not just what happened, but how they felt about it. Ask them what they're thinking about, what they wish for, what scares them at night. Sit with them, not just in the same room. Really sit with them. Put down your phone, turn off the TV, look at them, see them.
Because one day, you won't be able to. And you'll realize that all those quiet nights, all those dinners where nobody said anything important, all those years you spent next to each other without really being together, you can't get them back. I'm 74 years old. I have a small house and a decent pension and 2 sons who call me on holidays. And I would trade all of it for one more conversation with Linda, a real one, where I asked her what she wanted, where I listened, where I saw her. But I can't. So I'm telling you instead, don't let silence win.
Before you go, there's one more story I need you to hear. It's about a woman who spent 40 years waiting for her husband to notice she was drowning. She never said a word, and by the time he finally looked up, it was too late. If what I told you today meant something, you need to hear what she has to say. I'll leave it for you right here.